thought I'd do something a little bit different for you today. I was going to read you some short stories, and then hopefully on Monday I can read you Skylarks for our new class reader. Which one have I got here? So this is Pep. And say hello, Cookie. Cheese. 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 Okay, so let's first start with How to Live Forever. In a quiet street of tall trees, there is a library with thousands of rooms. On every shelf are copies of every book that has ever been written. But one book is missing. 200 years ago, someone hid its record card under the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet, and the book quietly vanished. The book is called How to Live Forever. When the library is closed and the night watchman has fallen asleep in his big armchair, the shelves come to life. Doors and windows appear on the back of the books, lights come on, and the sound of voices drift out between the pages. Full-grown trees spring up and the chimneys begin to smoke. Staircases and ladders join the shelves into the cities, and in the distances, small dogs bark. On a shelf of cookery books beginning with Q, in a book called Quince's, lived a family named Robinsons. A mother, a father, a serious girl called Lucy, and a boy called Peter. Peter was the only person who knew about the missing book. One night, his cat Brian chased the mouse into the filing cabinet, and when Peter squeezed in after him, he was found the card. When he went to get the book, there was only a dark, dust-filled gap. Peter decided that no matter what he had to do, he would find the lost book. "If I can find it," he said to Brian, "we will never grow old." And there are all the people that live inside the books. Every night for the next 2 years, Peter and Brian searched for the book. On the shelves of the empty space, there were books of age-old medicines and healthy books full of exercises and salads. He walked past rows of books with people in leotards leaping about, eating celery, and having their thigh photographed. But it was always the same. When he looked closely, they all had wrinkles around their eyes. They were getting older. They didn't know about the book. "Where's that boy off to every night?" said his mother. "As long as he's not getting into any trouble, it's all right," said his father. Peter travelled from room to room through secret cellars of forbidden books to well-worn shelves of cowboy stories, through silent books of Braille to street guides of lost cities. And then, on a dark shelf below the ceiling in a long-forgotten attic, Peter found 4 old men standing ankle-deep in dust, each balanced on one leg in front of a row of ancient Chinese books. The old men had white hair and deeply lined faces. They surely didn't know about the book. Peter watched them. It had been for the gentle breathing the old men could have been statues. "Welcome," said the first old man. He put his foot down very slowly, so not to disturb the dust, and bowed. "You are just in time for tea," said the second. He too put his foot on the ground and bowed. The third man did the same. The fourth man didn't move, and when Peter looked closer, he saw that he was asleep. "We don't get many visitors," said the old man. "You're the first," said the second. Peter followed the old men into large faded books. It was filled with the scent of spices and ancient memories. Beautiful carpets covered the floors, and red lacquered shelves crammed with 1,000 treasures filled the walls. "You've come for this, haven't you?" said the third man, holding out a small book. Peter took it and read the faded words, "How to Live Forever," or "Immortality for Beginners." Peter couldn't understand it. If these 4 old men had the book, why were they so old? He thought for a moment. "It doesn't work, does it?" he said. "Oh, yes, it works," said the old men. "Well, why?" began Peter. "Why are we so old?" "Yes, follow me," said the old man, "and I will show you." He led Peter through a door into a Chinese garden. It was the most beautiful place the boy had ever seen. Delicate trees shivered in a soft breeze. Their blossoms fell into pools of clear water filled with silent fish. Chinese quail picked across the earth and bright butterflies flew around his head. Peter just wanted to stand and stare, but the old man was walking off down the path. "Where are we going?" said Peter, running after him. "To see the ancient child," said the old man. Peter followed the old man through the trees into a clearing, and there, in a large chair, sat the ancient child. He was both young and old, 10 and timeless at the same time. His skin was as smooth as a child's, but it was dull and tired. His eyes were a child's eyes, but they were weary and far away. "This young one has come from the book," said the old man. "You mustn't read it," said the ancient child. "It will drive you mad." "I am the only person," he went on, "who has read it and not lost his mind. I was younger than you were when I found it, and I couldn't read it fast enough. Then while my friends grew up, I stayed like this. They grew out of toys and fell in love. They married and had children, and all I could do was sit and watch. Now I am frozen in time. I keep saying that I had everything, but all I had was endless tomorrows. To live forever is to not live at all. That's why I hid in the book." "Why didn't you just burn it?" asked Peter. "The book is immortal too," said the ancient child. Peter walked through the garden, feeling quite desolate. When he reached the pool, he sat down on the warm earth. All afternoon, he watched the goldfish. They too were growing old, but their children were swimming in the shadows. "I won't read it," he said, and went back to the ancient child. "You are wiser than I was," said the ancient child, and led him back to the world. So that was the story of How to Live Forever by Colin Thompson. I'm now going to read the book called The Promise. And I think this is one of the displays in our school is based on this book. The Promise. When I was young, I lived in a city that was mean and hard and ugly. Its streets were dry as dust, cracked by heat and cold, and never blessed with rain. A gritty yellow wind blew constantly, scratching round the buildings like a hungry dog. Nothing grew. Everything was broken. No one ever smiled. The people had grown as mean and hard and ugly as their city, and I was mean and hard and ugly too. I lived by stealing from those who had almost as little as I did. My heart was as shriveled as the dead trees in the park. And then, one night, I met an old lady down a dark street. She was frail and alone, an easy victim. Her bag was fat and full. But when I tried to snatch it from her, she held on with the strength of heroes. To and fro we pulled that bag until at last she said, "If you promise to plant them, I'll let go." What did she mean? I didn't know or care. I just wanted the bag, so I said, "All right, I promise." She loosened her grip at once and smiled. I ran off without a backward look, thinking of the food and money in her bag. But when I opened it, there were only acorns. I stared at them, so green, so perfect, and so many, and understood the promise I had made. I held a forest in my arms, and my heart was changed. I forgot the food and the money, and for the first time in my life, I felt lucky, rich beyond my wildest dreams. I slept with acorns for my pillow, my head full of leafy visions, and in the morning, I began to keep my promise. I planted beside roads on roundabouts, among rubble, ruins and rusty railings, by train tracks, tram lines and traffic lights, in abandoned parks and gardens laced with broken glass, behind factories and shopping malls, at bus stops, cafes, blocks and flats. I pushed aside the mean and hard and ugly, and I planted. Nothing changed at first. The gritty wind still scratched the parched, cracked streets. The people scowled and scuttled to their homes like cockroaches. But slowly, shoots of green began to show. Trees, first here and there, then everywhere. People came onto the streets to see. They touched the leaves in wonder and they smiled. They took tea together and by the tiny trees. They talked and laughed. And pretty soon they were planting too, trees and flowers, fruit and vegetables, in parks and gardens, on balconies and rooftops. Green spread through the city like a song, breathing to the sky, drawing down the rain like a blessing. But by then I was already far away, planting in another sad and sorry city. And another. And another. And another. And last night, in a lonely alley, a young thief fought me for my sack of acorns. I smiled and made that old bargain, knowing how a heart can change, knowing that my planting will go on. I wonder if you've done any planting whilst we've been at home. Right, and this is my last book. This was Luke's choice, Wonder Goal by Michael Foreman. It was a cold Sunday in winter, and the boys hadn't noticed the lad tie his bootlaces together on the way to the game. So when he tripped and fell out of the builder's van that was their team's bus, it just made him even more determined to show them. They were good lads, really, but he was new to the team, and they always teased the new boy. And when they ran out to start the game, he knew they all dreamed the same impossible dream of one day becoming famous footballers. In the second half, he got his chance to show them. It was perfect. Head over the ball, balance, power, timing. All the things his dad had told him. As soon as he kicked it, he knew it was going to be a goal. It was a screamer. No keeper in the world would have saved that shot. Maybe now his teammates would stop teasing him. Then, in his mind, everything seemed to stop, frozen in time. The keeper seemed to hang in the air and the ball hovered just beyond his fingertips. It was like a photograph. Like all those photographs that crowd the wall of his tiny bedroom, where he dreamed every night of scoring a wonder goal and winning the World Cup. He knew his dad used to have the same dream when he was a boy, and that he too had slept in a room wall to wall with heroes. His dad usually came to all the games, but this weekend he had to work overtime. His dad was not going to see the wonder goal. It wouldn't be in the papers, and it wouldn't be on the telly, and his dad was going to miss it. And this flashed through his mind as the ball flew towards the goal, and then time clicked into gear once more and moved on and on. The keeper hit the ground. And the ball smacked into the back of the net. The vast crowd erupted. He had hit another wonder goal, just like the goal he had scored all those years before on that freezing boyhood Sunday. Maybe now, after such a goal, his teammates would stop teasing him. They were good lads, really, but it was the newest member of the squad, and they always teased the new boy. And anyway, he knew they had always shared the same dream of winning the World Cup. They hadn't won it yet, but they had just they hadn't won it yet, but they had just scored the first goal of the final. And this time it would be in all the papers and on the telly. And this time, his dad was there to see it. And that is the end of the story. So we've had 3 lovely stories today. How to Live Forever, The Promise, and Wonder Goal. Wishing you all a very happy Wednesday, and I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. I will see you on Monday. Let's see if the doggies will say goodbye. Cheese. Chew. Cookie. Pet. Ear. Cheese. Cheese. See you Monday. Take care. Bye.